Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. I can't believe we are in the second week of December. Yeah, that's how COVID brain works, right? Every month seems to be the same month. But we are at the end of the year, the last month of the year. And every time in December, whether things are feeling great or they're not so great, I always take kind of like an inventory of the year. There's so much that really has happened that's unexpected for every single person. But then when you look at your life, you think about, my gosh, I had no idea that would happen. I've done that for many, many years now, just in awe of what we don't know about what's to come. And on the one hand, for many, many people, that can be pretty scary, the uncertainty of that. And we try to hold on and try to control and micromanage, and our anxiety kind of gets jacked up. Or we are open to just experiencing what happens and knowing that everything happens is for our highest good. And one of those things I think about every year at the end of the year is, who have I become? Who have I become because of the things that I've experienced and the things that have happened to me, the people I've met, the people I don't have in my life anymore? Who have I become? And have I found more of me in this past year? And then what is possible for me? So I look at all of that, and the reason why I talk about that, I don't know if y'all do that either, but I want to talk about this concept of finding yourself. I think so many people are convinced that, gosh, I'm lost and I don't know who I am. I hear that a lot from clients. I don't really know who I am. And I always chime back with, yeah, you do. You're just not stepping into it. There's something that's holding you back from embracing those things. The bottom line is, we all know who we are. And in a millisecond, we can find ourselves. Okay? So there's a saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? We've all heard this. That pretty much sums up the basis of finding yourself, doesn't it? But of course, y'all know I can't leave the message of today's podcast just by saying that one sentence, can I? That wouldn't really be me. Y'all know I like to talk. So allow me to share my thoughts with you about the truth about finding yourself. So much of our lives is spent trying to achieve something: more money, love, better house, better health, lower weight, just to name a few. And we're conditioned to do this from society and from our families, to strive for more, right? And sometimes, a lot of times internally, we want more, but it's usually based on something that has been predetermined and preconditioned within us. Nothing is wrong with wanting to achieve things, but when it comes to trying to find yourself, quote unquote, it isn't about achieving what most people typically strive to achieve. Finding yourself, y'all, is actually about something entirely different. And in a few moments, I'm going to share exactly what that is with you. When I first began to think about what I wanted to share with y'all today about this topic, finding yourself, what came to my mind was this statement: you take yourself wherever you go. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that. In the South, we have these things, I don't know, they're just sayings that kind of sum up, in a nutshell, the truth. You take yourself wherever you go. And I can recall many times in my life, especially this year, I have had to make some very significant decisions really life decisions and thinking about my life, but especially and mostly earlier on in my life, where I was emotionally struggling with some of the things that were going on, the life circumstances. The job maybe wasn't ideal. Money was consistently tight, and I just couldn't get a grip on creating wealth in that way. Maybe some of my romantic relationships weren't panning out as I had hoped, and heartbreak resulted. And sometimes I felt like I had lost direction in my life. And I almost convinced myself that I lost myself in all of those things. I just wanted to escape the emotional pain and hopelessness that I felt, but I couldn't. There was no place for me to truly go to rid myself of myself and what I was feeling. I don't know if y'all have ever felt that, where you just want to run away, you just want to get out of your own way and get rid of yourself. Not kill yourself, but just move away from yourself for a minute. Take a breather. But none of us can really do that, can we? We can consume substances that has a shelf life of efficacy, doesn't it? Eventually, unless you're abusing your system over and over and over again, right? Once the high of whatever it is wears off, you refuel. If you do this back to back for a long time, and even then, you will eventually become sober from whatever means you use to self-medicate, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever it is. It's going to stop working, and you arrive back in reality, however shitty it is, left to deal with yourself and your life. You can't escape yourself. Hence, you take yourself wherever you go. People can spend their entire lives seeking the truth of who they are. They can be self-help junkies and read and read and read and listen to all sorts of gurus all the time. But they never really apply what they hear. And I'm not going to say learn, because when you learn something, you use it. But they listen and they're on this quest, this incessant quest to get whatever it is that they feel like they're looking for outside of themselves. So they don't really learn what they're hearing, so therefore they can't apply it in terms of what they read, hear, or see. And if finding yourself is the way to find peace, then how in the heck does anybody do that? How do we get to peace? And is that really the truth of what finding yourself means? What does it mean to truly find yourself? You aren't the $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket, are you? The truth is that when we think we're lost and we feel resourceless, we are millimeters away from finding that which we are searching for. Most of us can't see the forest through the trees when it comes to it. We can't seem to pan backwards like, in a movie and see the bigger picture where there seems to be so many things to figure out. The truth is you aren't really lost at all. Thrown off guard. Got to change a game plan. None of us are really lost. And the reason why I could say that with certainty, I got almost 30 years of work in this business called therapy. And in addition, I got almost 52 years of working on me. So here's the thing. I know that I was really never lost. Bottom line is, I didn't know how to step up to myself. I wasn't taught that. We are under the illusion that we are separate from all that is when we feel lost, because we are the only ones living our lives. And we're the only ones who have to deal with the pain and struggle that our life brings. Nobody can take our pain away. It belongs to us, singularly, to deal with or to deny. Our lives are designed in such a way that reveals the key element in finding ourselves, and it is this thing that I'm about to tell you. You see, finding yourself isn't doing different things each day to reinvent yourself with different clothes, hairstyles, like you see famous people do. They have to reinvent themselves. It's not that. It's nothing like that. Finding yourself is only about returning to yourself. That's what I meant in terms of stepping up to yourself. Returning to the truth of who you are. If you wrote down all of the qualities and characteristics of yourself, where you knew that if you read it publicly, nobody would be critical. There would be no limitations for you to toot your own horn or go deep and be open and vulnerable about the light and dark parts, where you knew nobody would ridicule you and they'd just go, okay, complete acceptance, unconditional acceptance. I guarantee you could write your own biography, so to speak, autobiography. You could write your own resume of who you are, knowing fully the depth of who you are. But how can you do that when you say that you don't know who you are in the first place? Right? That's the illusion of separateness that I talk about. Go figure. The universe has your back for that one, y'all. Again, your life is designed in such a way that you cannot help but eventually find your way back to the truth of who you are. And again, that's really all it is. Because deep down, even though most people's default answer is I don't know, you know who you are. So when people come to work with me and they start this I don't know, just right out of the gate, I give them three I don't knows. In whatever way they choose to use them or say them. I don't know, not sure, have no idea. Doesn't matter. But you use up 3 and then you got to answer every question. No more I don't knows. So I'm going to challenge you with that. When you're listening to this or listening to anything else that I do or learning anything else, put the I don't know aside. It is a default defense mechanism. Whether you need to think about things or you want to get out of answering something, put it aside and then see what comes through. Over your lifespan, and y'all already know this, you will experience a multitude of challenges that will test you. You will be brought to your knees in more ways that you care to even think about. And this year is no exception. And you will be forced to look at who you really are and the you that you will truly acknowledge. Your life will shove your face in the shit, just like you would shove, or just like some people who don't know how to train animals, they will shove a dog's face in their shit or their pee when they defecate in the house. Life will teach you lessons in the same way. Your face will be shoved in the shit. And either you learn or you will shit in the wrong place again, and then your face will be right in it. You're going to keep smelling your mess until you learn the rules. Now, I know that is really a gross, strong analogy, but Spirit doesn't always deliver lessons in nice, pretty packages, doesn't it? And certainly, Spirit uses me very directly. Y'all figured that out by now. This is the clearest way that came through to get you to understand what I'm talking about. Time and time again, with large and small experiences, you will be called to task. You will be given the opportunity to get to know of what you are made. And if you don't take the universe up on its offer, you will experience more and more of those ways to learn about yourself. They will get tougher and tougher until you are brought to your knees and surrender. Finally, acknowledging the truth of who you are. Henry David Thoreau said it best, not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves. I don't believe in this whole concept of feeling lost. I feel like when people say they're lost, they just don't know what next step to take. Again, no one is truly lost. We might feel undirected, but we are not lost. There isn't a single moment that leads us to say, oh, there I am, right? It's in the moments along time, along the way to the destination, the challenges, the victories, the uncertainties, the hallways of our next door opening, where we truly get in touch with who we truly are. Finding yourself is a process. But like I said, it's really not about finding yourself. It's really understanding who you are and owning who you are. Your true self is buried under social and familial conditioning, cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and the limiting beliefs that you've adopted as a result of the conclusions that you've drawn about yourself over time, especially starting in childhood. You took all of this misinformation and you decided who you are. Done. Done deal. This is who I am. I'm going to believe everything outside of me and therefore not going to rely on who I know I am in my gut. I just haven't allowed him or her to show up. And now that's left to you with the sense that you're not connected to anything, the sense of loss, being lost, and that you're on the sea, adrift without the ability to control where you're going or to figure this shit out. Yeah, finding yourself is really becoming. It's about learning of what you are made, what you value, what your standards are. Even in the toughest times, that's when we learn what we will allow, what we stand for, your boundaries. And let me tell y'all something. When you value something and you put up a boundary, it isn't about being stubborn. Don't let anybody tell you, unless you know for sure this is your pride versus what you value. There isn't stubbornness in putting boundaries with people. You really understand your passions, your interests, your biases, your prejudices. We all have those. Weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Life is all about that shit. And so as you become who you need to be, the becoming, knowing that you are connected to totality, that you are infinite. When you're really doing, what you're really doing is connecting with who you have always been. Nothing that becomes of you is new. Nothing. It has always been inside of you. And you are just kind of like discovering it. It's almost like when you go through the car wash and your windshield has just been, it's been covered by mud, kind of caked on, and you're like, well, gosh, I can't see. But does that mean that once you clear the wind off, you won't be able to drive with clear sight? Right. So the action step would be, let me clear up how I see. Right? You're just discovering who you are and connecting with it. It's not a mystery. It's not anything you know. Because I always say this to people. I always say this. And this is perhaps a harsh example for most people, but it is such a poignant example, just like shoving the dog in their feces, shoving the dog's face in the feces. But if somebody were to ask you a question that you initially said, I don't know to, or you think is tough, and then you're in a position where you got a gun to your head, and they say, I'm about to pull the trigger in 5 seconds, boy, you'd be able to answer that question. No, I don't know. You wouldn't stall then. Trust me. So you know everything you need to know. Sometimes it's scared to admit. You're scared to admit things. Sometimes you question your skill sets, your strength, your abilities. But it's all there. You're perfect. So finding yourself isn't really a true concept. It's not about anything else but connecting with and returning to who you really are deep down. All the things that you imagine yourself to be, like fantasize, if only I could do this or that or be this or that, but you are. If you can think it, it exists within you. None of us is without the resource to do this, to tap into the who of who we really are. And it can feel as if we're climbing up a hill as we're working on returning to ourselves, as we are becoming who we truly are. But when you get a taste of who you really are, that's when the fun begins. When you allow yourself to acknowledge without prejudice towards yourself and without concern for what people think, that is fun. That is liberating because you show up genuinely in that way. There is such satisfaction when you begin to care less what others think and more of what matters to you. When you can make decisions that are emotionally hard and you are willing to put yourself through relatively short-term pain because you know that the long-term result is in your best interest, that is some shit right there. That is strength. That is knowing yourself. Knowing that you're going to put yourself in pain, but that the pain is temporary and that you're going to do things better. When you finally muster up the courage to quit your addictive behavior because you know you need to grow and face your pain and overcome it, that's becoming. When you stop unhealthy patterns in any part of your life so that you can make room for ones that don't hold you back anymore, ones that serve only to propel you forward, that's becoming. That's finding yourself. Remember, you take yourself wherever you go, so why not take the version of yourself that is the best version, the truest version, and the true version that's already there, flaws and all, and show up to the world that way. You'll know when you have, quote unquote, found yourself because you have become yourself. When you can just be with you yourself, unattached to outcomes, comfortable in your skin, and feeling fulfilled. Yep, it's a monumental task for one to become who they truly are. But there's something about the view from that place, that becoming, that is absolutely astounding. I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.